I play Tom, and I'm not very sure of his last name yet. It keeps changing. And Tom is a recovering alcoholic sometimes. Sometimes he's recovering, sometimes he falls over and gets plastered. Who really can't maintain a relationship or never could really maintain a relationship. Sometimes people might think he's incapable of loving, that Tom can't love anyone. But that's not true, because I know how the movie ends. And, you know, he meets this guy, Eli, who is incredibly cute and funny and just would be perfect for Tom. And he's you know, he's stuck in this position of, should he do the thing, should he jump in, you know, should he jump in with both feet and continue finding love, which he thinks is impossible. And it scares him along the way. Well, you know, I like the role of Tom because he wasn't the stereotypical gay guy. You know, this was a beer drinking, t-shirt wearing, I'm in the tux right now. He was you know, just a kind of a slob that no stereotypes attached to him whatsoever. And it was a nice love story. You know, it was like a Harry Met Sally thing. And I thought it was funny, and I thought it would be really interesting to do. I've never done a role like this, so.
The character of Eli, without having to describe myself, is the son of two therapists, the son of two hippies, the son of two pot-smoking, est-going, groovy shrinks who now, 30 years later, have pretty much destroyed any possibility of him leading a normal life. Eli is somebody who has looking for a relationship and has been so pumped up with psychobabble for 28 years that he has sort of an overblown sense of what a relationship should mean and what it should do and how much you should talk and how much you should share and blah-de-blah-de-blah-de. So when Eli meets Tom, who is the opposite of that, comes from alcoholic parents who don't ask, don't tell, don't talk, give me another martini, the clash of the two, sort of both dysfunctional but both coming from completely opposite ends. In a weird way, they yin and yang, and in a weird way, they're sort of like those magnets that sort of, when they get closer and closer together, that you think that they're going to collide, but in some weird way it fits.
Brett is a furniture designer who is best friends with this character played by Dan, named Eli, and you know, essentially I'm a guy who I guess is probably maybe a little smoother with women than I actually am, and end up sort of picking up on a woman played by Sasha, who and then we in turn hook our two friends up, the Rich and Dan characters, and they fall in love, and then and Sasha and I fall in love, and we get married, which is why I'm wearing this monkey suit.
Jackie's sort of an East Coast import. You know, she's kind of described as a, you know, working woman who's looking for a husband. Sort of maybe the epitome of a 90s, you know, working woman on the go. You know, what else? Yeah, I guess.
Dan is incredibly dynamic. He is doing everything on this movie. It's his absolute, you know, huge thing on his shoulders. He's written himself an incredible role that is incredibly dynamic and really caters to all of his strengths. It's funny, and he's very touching and very verbal and full of energy and very sensitive. he wrote an incredible script, which of course comes from a lot of personal experience, which is why it's so good. It's really heartfelt and really honest, and he brings that to the role by playing the lead role himself, in a way that it's really his own. And he's been tireless in getting this movie made, getting it off the ground, raising the money, and putting the people together.
I love Dan. Okay, we can't talk about Dan because I get very excited about Dan. I first met Dan actually at an audition before I ever worked on this movie, and we hit it off immediately. And then when I came in for this, we hit it off again. I cannot say enough about him simply because he is producing and has written and is starring in this movie, and he is still the most wonderfully humble person and collaborative person. He hasn't at one moment sort of said, oh my God, no, you can't do this or can't do that. He's really worked well with everybody. And I think that's really hard to find, because I think you really get to see who people are under pressure, and when they're doing something that's them and coming from their heart, you really get to see what people are about. So if this is what Dan's about, I love him and I will be friends with him for the rest of my life.
When he writes, he doesn't write just because he put himself in the starring role, which is always a little weird for a writer, because then you read it and you're like, oh no, he's just it's gonna be the the wonder role for the writer. And when I read it and I started reading it, I realized that he doesn't write just for himself. He's really more concerned with the whole the whole script itself, which I think is really great. And he's sometimes in the script, he's the brunt of the joke, and he doesn't always have the punchline. And there was a really good joke in the script, and he gave it to me. And actually, you wound up back with it though, which is
you can have it back if you want.
No, I don't. But just that he gave it to me and didn't even think about he's just very selfless. Is that the word? A very selfless writer. He just thinks about the whole thing. You know who did that? Sonny Bono.
I get that a lot.
Do you get Sonny Bono a lot?
Sonny Bono thing a lot.
Good.
Yeah.
He was a good man.
Thanks. Because this started out as a play and I adapted it into a screenplay, the process after having written the movie of trying to get it set up, trying to get money, financing for it, I sort of automatically took on the role of screenwriter / producer. Having played this role in the play, I always knew that I wanted to play the role in the movie. So I sort of knew in the distance that was going to be coming. I would be playing the same role in the movie, but playing producer / screenwriter for about a year was, they sort of melded into each other, because once the script had already been written and finished, it was all about a few rewrites and sending it out, and having my agent send it out, and having my manager, Susan Landau, who's one of the executive producers, strategize on how we're going to make this movie. What should the budget be? Should we make the whole movie be talent-based, where we try to get a star attached and then get money based on that? Is that the right way to do it? All those challenges. And ultimately, we were lucky enough to find financing not necessarily based on talent. And then the casting process, people were really responsive to the script. It was very exciting, and we wound up with this phenomenal dream cast. And so we sort of got the best of both, without having to have a studio breathing down our necks. I guess that's the benefits of making an independent movie anyway, that you can sort of make it the way you want. But Susie Dietz, who's one of the producers, was the producer of the play. So she's been with me from the beginning.
I came to the project a little over a year ago. I met Dan Bukatinsky, the writer and star, through a friend of mine, another actress who I'd worked with in a film, and she had suggested to him that I'd be good to direct his script, and he sent it to me, and I read it, and I loved it. I really related to it. I read it I read the script not wanting to like it, because I've only directed things that I've written, and I really thought there was no way I could relate to something if I hadn't written it, and I just loved it. It was just such a wonderful universal story, and it dealt with the themes that I love, which is human relationships and intimacy. And even though it's a gay love story, what I love so much was that it's just about intimacy. It doesn't matter if it's two women, two men, or a man and woman. And I thought that was something that's never really been done. So I loved it. And it was funny and it was touching. And I thought, I have to do this.
Okay, this is the God's honest truth.
All right, I don't want to be here for
There
this.
was not one person who, literally the room was electric when he left the room. It was like, okay, that guy, that's it. That is so obviously the one. And everybody agreed. And then we had this meeting with all the 9 producers, and we showed 4 different candidates for the part of Tom. And for the first time ever, all 9 people went around in a circle and said who their choice was, and it was like, it's obvious, it's Rich, it's got to be Rich. And when we played the scenes together, we had never met. I had no idea who Rich was, didn't look at his resume, literally, there was an instant chemistry, rapport. My heart was pounding. I was like, that's the one. We have to hire him right now. We have to hire him right now, because I was so, I felt, as the writer, I felt like, okay, that's the guy. He nailed it, and nobody else came close. And I was nervous. I was like, what if all the other producers don't agree with me? But I felt it instantly.
Richard's incredible. He came in and auditioned and just blew us all away within 4 words. Didn't even complete a sentence, and he was just that. He was it. He had the complexity of the character of Tom, but he was also very sensitive and likable, and that was a really hard combination to find, which was someone who was really troubled and really confused and almost a little dangerous, but who was also just completely lovable at the same time, and he just had it.
Until the first day. And Sasha's great. She's really, she's really into it. She's really natural, and she's really kind of, she gives you a lot as an actor, which is, really important. And she's sexy.
Okay, there's Liz, Donna, and Rachel. And they're just a bunch of catty, hilarious women. And they're real girls, the kind of girls we hang out like every week and gossip about everything. Liz is just bitter right now. She's really unhappy with herself and really unhappy with her love life. So she's a little jealous that, I found somebody that I'm really happy with, and she wishes she had it. And all of her friends are getting married and she's not, so she's a little upset about that.
Yeah, it's been 2 weeks of shooting. I think we're on our 11th day, but you stop counting after a while, and it's been very long days and a very arduous shoot. But that's to be expected when you make a movie like this. You want to get the best quality you can. It's all about the story, but you have very limited time. Basically, a movie like this, by Hollywood standards, would be shot in 4 times as much time. It's perfect to have the helicopter fly over. We've had to cut every day because of helicopters. But usually a movie like this, if this was a Hollywood film with big Hollywood stars, it would have 4 times as much time to shoot. And basically we're doing it, in a quarter of the time and wanting to get, the best product we can.
You're having fun.
Yeah, it's a great crew. And everyone's here because they love the story and they love movies, and that's the best.
Talk about that actually in terms of the creatives and everyone's sort of involved with this and
Well,
sort of personal connection to this.
Yeah, everyone is working on this because they're connected to somebody who it's really important to. So you have everyone is really loyal and knows how important it is to either their friend who they're working for or someone that they've worked with on another movie before. So it's really like a big family where everyone is personally invested in the project in some way. So everybody, even after a really long day and when there's tension and all of that, everyone is still there for the end result. People just want it to be good, and that's great. I think it's going to come through.
I think we got it.
I think it's an interesting way to an interesting and sort of obvious way, and sort of surprising that in the past that gay relationships haven't been depicted in a kind of in a less didactic way. I mean, it's not a gay movie. It's a movie where there's 2 couples. One of whom happens to be gay, or one of which I should say happens to be gay. It's not about the gayness of it. It's just about relationships. So I think that's a sort of kind of a more maybe authentic way to deal with it.